This article is about looking at how governments can be seen from a biblical perspective. The Bible is clear that all authorities are given by God to control evil, and that's why we should honour and respect the authorities that we are under. And it should only be an exception that we should feel because of God's rules that we should maybe disobey something. But that is an extreme exception. The dominant feature is that of obedience. And you see that throughout the whole New Testament. Because these authorities have a very important job. In a fallen world, evil is a very real problem, and only the authorities can deal with that. The worst form of government is no government at all, and we see that in failed states around the world. But the question might be, who appoints these governments? And that's a very interesting question. It's very often the case that those who have the military power find themselves establishing the governments. He who has the gun controls who's in power. However, that is a very violent way of affirming authority. Hence the institution of hereditary monarchies. This was seen as a much more peaceful way of deciding who was an authority. The problem there is that the monarchy itself could become corrupt and its rule to be unjust. And as a consequence, from 1215 with the Magna Carta onwards, the British explored ways of bringing the monarch to account, given some sort of control, and that was where the parliamentary system was developed. And that makes a lot of sense. Whether it's a monarch or a prime minister or a president, you want some form of accountability, some way in which the community can express its concerns if government has not been done properly. And so that's probably the justification for parliamentary democracy, and it makes a lot of sense. The question then is what happens if the community itself, because it is also evil, starts to persecute minorities and becomes a tyranny of the majority against minorities. And therefore you need to have some form of checks and balances in the system. And all these things are quite complicated. And I think some have argued that really democracies work best when there's a strong Christian ethos of treating people fairly and looking after the weak and vulnerable. And those societies where Christianity is strong, or Christianity has been a strong influence, have often been the most successful democracies. Well, thank you for listening.